welcome. If you have been experiencing spiritual chills on your journey, then this video is for you. Spiritual chills defines when you get goosebumps from positive outside or internal stimuli, which could be memories, compliments, inspiring music, movies, a loved one, time with friends, praying, praising God, meditation, receiving a confirmation, feeling motivated to strive, gratefulness, and most importantly, feel a cold or hot, euphoric / blissful wave flowing underneath your skin. This euphoric wave can be learned to be brought up on demand consciously for long durations without the physical reaction of goosebumps and can give one the ability to do incredible feats with it. Kundalini, coming from the Sanskrit word meaning coiled snake, is said to be the term for a spiritual energy or life force located at the base of the spine. Modern Kundalini information and practices in the US was invented by Yogi Bhajan that borrows from traditional practices but is not the true practice / intel on Kundalini. Yogi Bhajan basically presented the information that Kundalini is a form of feminine energy that is said to be coiled at the base of the spine and presented various forms of yoga, meditative, and sexual practices to forcefully activate this spiritual energy. Years after this, thousands of people who practiced that propaganda with hopes to activate their spiritual energy and become awakened went through horrible experiences and were all declared clinically insane because of the false information that was purposely given to cause people to activate their spirit and open the doors of their spiritual abilities in detrimental ways. Sikh historian Trilokan Singh says Bhajan synthesis of Sikhism and Tantrism is a sacrilegious falsity. Other far more important leaders from India denounced Bhajan as they professed to be shocked at Bhajan's fantastic theories. They declared that the yoga, tantrism, and the sexual practice taught by Bhajan were forbidden and immoral. So, what is the truth? Where does this energy come from? If we take a look at one of the different terms for spiritual chills, ruah, pronounced in Hebrew ruach, it is the Hebrew word translated as Spirit of God. It is the natural force which represents in its extended meaning the breath of life in human beings and the creative, infilling power of God and His Spirit. However, the word is also translated as breath, air, and wind in the scriptures. This is how we can see that ruah is just a different term for spiritual chills. Because if we take a look at the term prana, it also means breath, air, and wind. And prana is a different term for spiritual chills. How does spiritual chills and prana relate? In the concept of prana, it explicitly discloses that getting goosebumps is one of the physical reactions that prana activation can cause. What is considered Kundalini is spiritual energy that comes from your spirit. But where does your spirit come from and how can one activate this body the right way, the true way? Your spirit comes from the Creator, the universe, the infinite being, God, or whatever name you prefer. And as we all know, the very first human received the breath of life from God. This explains how your spirit, ruah, was given by God. Since your spirit comes from God, the real way to activate this spiritual energy that some know as Kundalini in ways that you can benefit from is only through following God and purifying yourself with the ways that God has told humanity. I can confirm this because yes, my spiritual energy was activated thanks to God. I've always been a firm believer in God, a follower and practitioner. One day, when I really needed to feel the presence of God because I was presented information that attacked my core beliefs, I prayed deeply to God for help, and as I went to sleep, I experienced the energy activation of what is specifically described in the Kundalini awakening, but not through any of the false practices, only by seeking God. This changed my life forever. I've then been put in situations where I experienced out-of-body experiences, spirit projection, clairvoyant visions, and more, all while I was just talking to God or thanking God for everything I could think of. I eventually found out ways to duplicate these experiences and even wrote down how to. This is before I knew anything about Kundalini, spiritual chills, and spirituality in general. Today, I understand why people have had Kundalini awakenings that turn it bad and they open it doors that they can't close, because I experienced the right way that the spiritual body is supposed to activate to then be able to use the supernatural gifts from God with no harm coming your way. To summarize everything I've said in the simplest way I can, your spiritual chills is energy from your spirit, which comes from God, and the way you can develop and activate its entirety for it to not harm you and to truly benefit from it, you have to develop your spirit into what can be considered the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the divine force, quality, and influence of God over the universe or His creatures. It is an agent of divine action and communication. It has two aspects, one being a personal power which can come upon you, guide you, and enable you to manifest supernatural power, and the other being an impersonal force which fills a person like a fluid. It is the source of all goodness in the universe, the spark of all life in humanity, and is the ultimate guide to righteousness and communion with God. You have to take your spirit to the next level, and your spiritual body will fully activate in you, without the need for you to chase its awakening. In the meantime, if you are one of those who are aware of their spiritual energy as spiritual chills, you can still use its comforting and euphoric properties, as it is a gift for you from God. This is not my first time telling you that the best way to develop and purify this energy is through following God, whether through prayer, thanking God, contemplation, or following His other steps to purity. To finish, here is what the Quran says about goosebumps. It is Allah who has sent down the best message, a book of perfect consistency and repeated lessons, which causes the skin and hearts of those who fear their Lord to tremble. Then their skin and hearts soften at the mercy of Allah. Chapter 39, verse 23. Meaning that developing this energy, which can cause shivers of the skin, is best done through God.